Hi everyone, welcome to Honey Drops Tarot. This is a special bonus reading for the sign of Libra, Sun, Moon, Rising, or Venus. Libra, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all of your likes, shares, and subscribes. I truly appreciate it. Just a quick note, please do not fall for any scammers. I will never reach out to solicit for a private reading. I do offer private readings, and if you're interested in signing up for one of those or in making a donation, you can find that information in my Buy Me a Coffee link, my official Instagram and TikTok, all listed in the About section of my YouTube page, and I thank you so much in advance. Libra, I hope that you're doing well. This reading is all about potential blockages that are occurring in your life right now and getting some advice from Spirit on how to remove those blockages. I'm going to be using two decks for your reading today. The first one is the Deep, Dark, and Dangerous Oracle for the overall energy, and for the tarot, we're going to be using the Pulp Tarot. And then at the end, I'm just going to read the little, there's a little blurb on the inside here about the cards, so I'm going to read that at the end. Cards have been pre-shuffled. This is for Libra, Sun, Moon, Rising, or Venus. Angel Spirits, Guides, what messages do you have for Libra? What are their potential blockages at this time? Number 7, which corresponds to the Chariot card of the Major Arcana, Cancer energy. Chariot card talks about victory, fast movement forward, an equilibrium of sorts between light and shadow. So it's interesting, the card that you got, Hades, is the location, and it's the underworld. So what could your potential blockages be? An understanding of your shadow, I think. This sense that, you know, Libra is all about balance and fairness and justice and putting things into equilibrium, absolutely. But when we sway too far on one side or the other, it almost doesn't make sense. Have you ever met somebody who is like really happy all the time? Like they never show any kind of bad attitude, and there's always something about those people that I am highly suspect of, right? It's not even about being in high vibration. It's not about that. When I see people that just don't exhibit any bad days whatsoever, I am very suspect of that, because to my understanding, that is not the human experience. For me, there's a whole gamut, and I've never met anyone that I trusted that was happy all the time. And that's not like a doom and gloom message. It's more just like, let's be real about things. It's sometimes people face their shadow, and maybe those people face their shadow in private. I could be absolutely wrong, and I have been absolutely wrong many times about life, right? But just in my personal experience, and Spirit is calling me to say it. Almost as if maybe you've been putting on a brave face, and it would be okay every once in a while to show people that you require a listening ear or a helping hand or somebody to bounce ideas off of, to be a sounding board, a counterbalance, whether or not you err on the side of the light or the dark. But we're talking about blockages here, and it's almost as if you have blocked off all access to the shadow side, the traumas and the triggers. Or maybe you think you've had it all. Maybe you think you figured it out already. Maybe you've gone through a dark night of the soul and you have dealt with your shadow. And you're just like, okay, that's done now. Check. We've addressed that issue, and now we're moving on. And I suspect that maybe that's not entirely the case, at least for the Libras that I'm speaking to. So I'm going to get 3 cards for the base spread, 3 cards for clarifier. This is just an overall message to take a temperature on what these blockages are and how we can help ourselves, help Libra to address them. Three cards out. Whoops. They're very sloppy, the cards. But I will say, I have to say, it has been raining for 2 days straight, and just now, a little bit of sunlight is peeking through. I feel like that's a good sign. The clouds are parting for Libra. It's amazing how it completely changes your mood when you see, I don't even get direct sunlight. It's the sunlight bouncing off the building across the street. It's amazing how it messes with your brain chemistry and just, you know, causes you to see the world differently. 6 cards out on the table. The first card is the Page of Swords in the reverse. This is your energy. The swords in the tarot represent air. Aquarius, Libra, Gemini. Page of Swords in the upright talks about somebody who is kind of in search of information, doing a little research, doing something that piques their curiosity. But it's in its beginning stages. Pages are always youthful, immature energies that are just trying their hand at something, putting the feelers out there, not really fully developed in any sense. This card is in reverse. There's no curiosity, there's no interest, there's no wanting to look deeper, which is kind of what I suspected. Emperor in reverse. To clarify that, the Emperor is a major arcana card. Number 4, Aries energy. Whenever I talk about major arcana cards, it's the first 22 cards of the tarot, represent the archetypes of humanity. These big energies that symbolize different phases of life. When someone is in the Emperor energy, they've really standing in their divine masculine power, as we have divine masculine and feminine. Divine masculine is more the aggressor, the go-getter, the leader, big boss energy, knows what they want when they want it, has the resources to accomplish things, whether that's finances or intelligence or connections. When the card is in reverse, it's like an unrefined, unrealized version of the Emperor who might be a little overly concerned with control, maybe a little bit too much in the ego. Right, so remember, this reading is all about blockages. What is preventing you from progress in whatever form you're looking for? A little bit of it could be from this energy, which is this sense that you've lost control of a situation, or you're having to depend on others, right? But instead of kind of acknowledging that, you might be pushing it under the rug a little bit. You might be, especially, I see this here as like a little rug, which is very random. It's like, why is that even there? That's why I said it's like pushing it under the rug. What are we pushing under the rug? The sense that you don't like to lose control. Who does? But it's coming in the reading at the forefront, right? So remember, there was the number 7 referenced here in this card. The Chariot, progress, moving forward. So the blockages that were at a standstill. Could it possibly be because of our own attitude or outlook on the world? that could be creating our world and creating that standstill. It's just a thought. Let's get, what is Spirit's comment on this? Ooh, man, that was very forceful the way that came out. The Fool energy. Number 1 of the major arcana tarot is all about the Fool's journey, believing in Spirit, taking a great leap of faith. Could be difficult for you right now. Spirit is saying you have what it takes to make that great leap of faith. It's almost like, but it has to do with the self. It's not like I see you, it's not like an action necessarily out in the world affecting other people, like moving cities or jobs or telling somebody off or telling somebody you love them. It's like those are external, like they involve other people. I feel like this leap of faith is completely internal. It has to do with you and your outlook. You see how emboldened she is? She reminds me of, I don't know, the 20s, 30s, 20s. When was, there's a character in US history, 30s maybe, during the war. She's called Rosie the Riveter, which is interesting because we think of the word riveter, we think of the word riveting, which is like, it's alluring, it's attractive, it's so riveting. Rosie the Riveter was, well, I think it was part of a propaganda machine, or some kind of advertising to highlight the fact that women went into the workforce while all of their husbands were away at war, and they were in the factories building weapons and, you know, showing their might. And there's the classic symbol of Rosie the Riveter, you know, showing her muscles and really doing her part. I don't know why that's relevant, but it's kind of like, Spirit's showing me Rosie. Maybe your name is Rose or Rosie. But Spirit's bringing up that point again that I brought out at the beginning of, you see people that look too happy. Something to that. Spirit saying aim for neutral. Aim for neutral. Like, don't feel the need to have to put on a brave face. Because now I'm seeing this card again. Which is essentially, they both are wearing masks. Reminds me of Phantom of the Opera. This sense that something having to do with your expression, your face, the face that you show the world, is, there's a mask. There's a mask that you're putting on. Maybe you feel like you don't have a choice. Like you don't have, maybe you don't have the luxury of sitting in your feelings, right? This is a classic argument, I feel, between air signs and water signs. You know, water signs are always complaining, oh, air signs are too much in your head. It's so cold. And then air signs are saying, oh, water signs are too much of a crybaby. Stop crying over everything. Something to it. Take it as it resonates. Which is my go-to for, I'm not really sure. But I have to just say, you know, I don't have to know. Only you have to know. There's something to it. There's definitely a mask. You're definitely putting on a mask. There's lots of masks. There's an element of pretending, because there is an extreme sense of losing control in a situation, not being able to step forward proudly or boldly, even though you can. There's the feeling inside that you can't. Maybe there's a lot of people relying on you, right? If you're a leader especially, I work with a lot of leaders, and it sucks sometimes, you know, when you're a leader and you don't feel like you can show weakness. It's like a quiet kind of frustration. Ten of Swords coming out next. Truly, this sense of being flattened. Ten of Swords is, we're just at our wits' end. We just don't have, we have nothing else. I have nothing else to give. I have nothing else to offer. You've taken the blood from the stone. At least when the Ten of Swords is in the upright, we can move through that energy, but coming out in reverse for you, certainly a blockage. How do we get back up again? Our brains are mush. It's clear by the Five of Cups. I mean, this is not an easy reading, Libra, but we're going to work through it. We're going to work through it. The Five of Cups is, we're looking at the 5 spilled cups on the ground. What do we have left, we might be asking ourselves. I have no gas in the engine. The Spirit says, over here in the shadow, there's still these 2 cups that are standing. Beautiful connection. The connection between you and your higher self, perhaps. Between you and your shadow self, perhaps. What does that look like in practical terms when we work with our shadow? Sometimes it can look like indulging in some fantasy, indulging in some vices, admitting to our nearest and dearest that we don't like something in our lives that has been a cycle of repeat, right? It's kind of, not all shadow is devil energy, but it lingers there for a little while. Like the places where we feel most vulnerable can sometimes be lurking in the shadows. And so maybe this is what we're talking about here, that if we feel at our wits' end now, then maybe there's this sense of abandonment, this sense of loss. And how do we overcome that sense of loss? Right? Oh, I'm just now noticing your cover card is also number 7. 7-7, that's my lucky number. You could be saying 7-7 in synchronicities. Spirit, how can you help us understand, please, the 5 of Cups, this sense of loss, this 2 of Wands, feeling like we need a new direction. This is the card of directionality. You can see here, he's kind of a little bit of an explorer. He has the whole world in his hands. The whole world of possibilities. Where do we even begin? Now, you know what this feels like? It feels like starting over. Starting over energy. You could be leaving a relationship or a job or some kind of situation, some past narrative. You want to start over, but you don't know how. Spirit wants to help you, but they say, well, you have to, it's your choice. It's free will. You have to decide first, what is it that you want? And maybe that the path to understanding that will be realizing what it is that you don't want. We don't like to linger in terms of manifestation. We shouldn't linger too much in, well, I don't want this, and I don't want this, and I don't want this, but it's definitely a good idea to have it very clear in your mind. So, for example, they always say that when you want to manifest love, you don't want to say to the universe, well, like in my example, like, oh, he can't be mean, and I don't like somebody who's too much of a jokester, and I don't like somebody who's really stingy, and I don't like somebody who, you know, doesn't take care of himself. These are just, I'm just throwing things out there. I mean, all of those things are true for me, but like, it's a lot of negative, right? I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this, instead of focusing on the, I'm looking forward to meeting my partner who is kind, who is generous, who has a loving spirit, who is good to himself and his family, his loved ones, who is a good friend. Like, it's a different feeling, right? It's a different feeling. So it's kind of towing the line between those two polarities. But it starts with an understanding of what those two polarities are, and then finding the middle path. If it's a relationship, as an example, how can you begin to know what you want and don't want if you haven't really delved deep into the last relationship that didn't work out for you? Now, I'm not talking about obsessing about why it didn't work out, but really digging into that shadow. Digging into what was my part to play. It can't just be all about like, well, they were a you-know-what. A piece of you-know-what. I mean, that could be true, but like, it can't always be about the other person. Somewhere in the relationship, there were two people involved and you were one of them. So the shadow aspect is looking at the part that you played and the part that you will no longer continue to play, right? So let me just give you a personal example, right? I talk very openly on this channel about how I have a twin flame. And if you know anything about the twin flame journey, it's full of devil energy. It's like it's so beautiful in one respect. It's so rewarding if you take the journey, and yet very harrowing and awful at the same time. But I could sit here and blame my twin for just everything that went wrong. And there are a lot of things that he is responsible for. But what was my part? When I did my shadow work, as I was going through a spiritual ascension, what did I realize about myself? That I was really, really needy and really codependent and really just fixating on him and like almost obsessive. And why? He's just a person. You know, like, yes, he's my twin flame. I realize that now. I realize that that was part of the whole journey. But putting distance and looking at that shadow, it's not all of that outward pouring of emotion and energy towards him was never about him. It was about these vulnerabilities and these abandonment issues and what have you that I had to deal with myself. So that's part of looking at the shadow. It's an ugly, ugly process. It makes you work through all sorts of things like shame and wanting to hide those facts. And that's also a reason why I talk about it very openly, because I don't want to feel shame around that. I don't want to feel shame around the fact that I loved another human being with all of my heart and soul. There's nothing to be ashamed about with that. Now, my approach to that was tremendously immature. It was basically my first relationship, and it was like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to be. And so all this time and all this distance has taught me, right, how to be on my own, how to be self-sufficient, how to find love for myself. That's very difficult. I work on it every single day. And so Spirit's just using that as an example of how does one look at their shadow. Start looking at your actions. Remember, this is not a like gotcha, pointing the finger at you, Libra. I'm doing a whole series of readings about blockages. You want to come here to understand the blockage? First of all, good for you, because it's difficult. It might be triggering. You might be pissed off at what I'm saying right now. I don't know. But I want you, the whole point is to help you move through it, because I want you, Libra, to be literally your best, the best version and the happiest version of yourself that you can be, while also being in balance, which you like to be. So we end here with the Strength, Major Arcana number 8. This is Leo energy. So it feels like there's optimism here, because the Strength card is all about mastering the ego that we were just talking about, right? The codependence that I had, the obsession, that's all ego based. It's like I felt like I had to own somebody. I feel like I had to control somebody. It's that expression, when you love someone, let them go. If they come back, they were meant to be yours, whatever that expression is. It's a little different with twin flames, but it's kind of true, actually. But then there's another expression, I don't know who it was, Rumi maybe said it, somebody said it, where like the highest form of loving another person is loving them in a way where they feel free. And I never really understood that until I had my spiritual awakening. I didn't understand what that meant. Love someone in a way where they feel free. Because then every time they come back to you, it's like their choice to, right? Again, it doesn't have to be about relationships, but it's this sense of we're not putting the kind of stranglehold on a situation, whatever that situation is. We want to release it, allow there to be flow, even if it's within yourself, which I think is what is happening. The Strength card here, she makes friends with the beast within, that ego. It's clarified by the 8 of Wands in the reverse. Slow going. I think that the downloads are coming, but it might be a little too slow for your liking. Spirit just said you're outpacing the downloads. What does that mean? And Spirit just said, oh, your big brain. Libra, your big brain. So anytime I tell somebody, oh, you and your big brain, I use it in kind of a twofold way. I use it to bolster somebody up sometimes. Sometimes I have friends and that need a little bolstering, right? We all need a little bolstering every once in a while. And so when I'm giving somebody a little bit of sisterly love, a little bit of tough love, I'll throw the big brain comment in there, like, your big brain is making you overthink, or your big brain is what have you. So Spirit is giving me that sentiment that your overthinking is actually drowning out the messages from Spirit, the messages of your intuition, which is not your go-to. Libra doesn't rely on the intuition as the first line of defense. The first line of defense is always looking at the situation very methodically, very strategically. The clouds are starting to roll back in again. It's starting to get a little dark. Can I have some advice? Final word of advice, please, Spirit, about this blockage for Libra. 2 cards came out. See, your big brain. 7 of Cups. Your big brain is all mixed up. There are too many choices. There are too many options. Which one do I look at? Which one do I choose? It's very funny because it's a Cups energy. It's water. Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio talks about feelings, right? Intuition and feelings. What were we just talking about? And Spirit is saying you're a little confused. Judgment card in the reverse. Judgment card is number 20 of the Major Arcana. Talks about making a judgment call, answering the call of Spirit, bringing something back from the dead, from the recesses. It's in the reverse. Too many choices and having to make a choice. Sitting on the fence. And the card is in reverse. It's kind of like we're sitting on the fence. Ultimately, Spirit is saying you have to be very, very clear about what it is that you want, Libra. And when you decide what it is that you want, then you have to delve a little deep into your shadow. So let's say I'm going to use something really benign. Oh, which is still a big deal for some, but let's say you want to pay off some debt. Most people are in this scenario. Let's say you want to pay off some debt, but it's been difficult. You know, you make okay money, and everyone could always stand to make more, right? And you pay your bills, you take care of your responsibilities, but you just have that one credit card or that one bill that you haven't been able to get to it. Maybe because if it's a credit card, you keep spending money on it instead of just paying it off, because you make some impulse purchases, or you just needed that new pair of shoes. You just needed them. You needed them. Did you really? I mean, maybe you did. Maybe you didn't. And it's looking at that, saying, why do I spend impulsively? When do I spend impulsively? Usually I spend impulsively when I feel like I was cheated out of something or I deserve something. I spend on myself because I deserve it. I work hard. Sure, that's your prerogative to do it, but how do you spend, right? So it could be, if it's a money blockage and you're looking at your shadow, you can think, you know what? Every time I get really angry at work or frustrated, I head to the coffee shop and I buy myself a $10 coffee because I felt like I deserved it, right? I'm taking a page out of my own book. So that's just an example. We didn't need that $10 coffee. We didn't need it. What we needed to do was go home and take care of ourselves. Thank you, Spirit. That's 3 honks I've heard. I'm on to something. It's also it's a message to me too. So let me read from the book. This is for Libra. Everything has a cycle and a time span. Death is a natural part of life. Plan a legacy. What matters most? Knowing this helps you live a better life. Move through change. What ideas have passed their use? What ideas have passed their use-by date and can be left behind? So it's all about making those decisions. That's your reading, Libra. I hope that it resonated. If it did, please like, share, subscribe, comment down below. Please hit the bell notification to be updated as to when I post new readings. Thank you, Libra.